let's do something. Let's actually start. A couple different ways to do the typical Kung Fu salute when we're doing the Tai Chi class. A lot of times we start with something like this. The Kung Fu using this type of thing. When you have a weapon, usually holding the weapon in the right hand and the left hand going over top of it this way. If you have the weapon upright, the same thing. So generally putting the handle of the weapon up here. So good evening, welcome. Let's actually start with a little bit of breathing, and then we'll stretch, and then we're going to work on some BIAN stuff. So take a comfortable, tall horse stance. We're just going to do some qigong to warm up. So breathing deep. Stretch, reach like you're extending all the way, and then reaching out to the sides the same. Stretch your fingertips, activate your toes and your feet. Connect the tongue to the roof of the mouth. Go at your own pace. We're breathing, we're inflating all the way up as we reach the top, and then exhaling out to the sides, down to the base. And imagine with the breathing each time getting more full. While you're working, while you're breathing, on the inhale, lifting the pelvic floor, the base of the torso. Keep your back and your neck straight. And go at your own pace. Do 3 more, even slower than the pace that you've been going. And then when you finish, bring everything back to the center and check your alignment, check your calibration. Bring the head top up, relax the shoulders, the hips, the tailbone. Next, let's actually use the stick. I'm going to be using a full-size stick. For rad, you can use something as short as something like this, like a handle, right? If you have something longer, better. We're gonna talk about how to create a BIAN, the kind of materials that they're favored materials, and yeah. So in the meantime, let's actually do a little bit of work. If you take your stick and you put it behind your shoulders, and allow your shoulders, your wrists, your elbows to relax, and then turning your head top. So as if the stick is locking the base of the neck, and then turning from left side to right side. And then keeping the stick in place, pushing up through the back of the neck, tuck your chin. So like you're extending the head top forward and down. And then gripping your toes, breathing. The same thing, like you want to extend your neck up and back over the stick. And then come back to the center. By the way, if you have a longer stick, taiji staff is also working. If you take something longer, right, for the warm up, you can do some things. If we go back, we're going to repeat these same movements with the longer stick. You can actually stretch a little bit further, and then turning the same thing. So pull the head top up and back like you're stretching over the stick this way. And then let your shoulders sink with gravity. And then come back to the center. We're going to turn looking left. Try to let your shoulders sink more. Push up through the back of your neck, and then turning to the other side. Come back to the center. And then the same thing, like you're extending your upper neck and head top. Keep the stick and shoulders in place. And then like stretching your neck, push forward. And then come back to the center. Relax. Next, we're going to take the stick, and I want you to be very careful about your spine when we do this next exercise. We're going to do a little bit of massage for the neck, and so we're going to use sort of a pressing motion, rubbing, and I want you to work this tissue in the back of the neck, back here, right? But I don't want you to hit the vertebrae. You have sort of points that come off of the vertebrae, and I don't want you to hit those. So take the stick, and then, like you're pulling downwards. I'm not sure what the camera can see, but pull the tissue down. Don't run it across your spine. And work on each side. You'll feel in the back. You can work it up a little bit higher, close to the base of the skull, with a downward movement. And then once you do that, work towards the top of the shoulder blade. So keeping the hands where they are, keeping the stick at the base, right above the shoulder blades. And you can sort of turn it a little bit. The same thing again, I want you to, in this one, you can push the chest out to be sure that we don't hit the spine and back. So make the stretch. And then you should be able to feel the upper back muscles with the stick. And then we're using the same long breathing that we started with. So next, if your BIAN is cut correctly, it should sit right at about the base of your wrists. You can pull your hands just to the end of it, and then allow that to sit so that the stick is going into your elbow here. Should fold into this spot. And then your shoulders also sinking. And then we're going to turn. So while we're turning, I want you to use your abs. So keeping hold of the stick, breathing deep. And feel as if you can relax your tailbone. So that the torso is straight. Maybe the way that because the stick here causes my chest to stick out. Maybe difficult to see. This is straight. This is straight here. And we want to be using that center column. So really feel your center line. Feel your neck, your back. Relax your tailbone. Keep the tongue connected to the upper palate. And then for this turning, I want you to let everything relax except the side of the abs on each side. So like you're engaging each one to turn and stop. Let your lower back relax. Push the back of your neck up. So you're stretching your back and then you're turning around the center. Remember to breathe. And see if you can turn all the way while maintaining your alignment of your hips and your knees facing forward. And the same thing, we want our jawline, our face to be also facing forward. Allowing the overlap on the turn to reach all the way to the front. By the way, you have to practice at your own level. My body's very flexible right now. I do training every day, so I can do that. You may only be able to turn a little bit, but I want you to, the thing that I want you to feel is the overlap, so that without applying too much pressure, we can allow the body to gently reach past the boundary on each side, so that there's no limit. And then come back to the center. Here's another one. This one works better with the full-size staff. I learned this one from Grandmaster Sue. If you take one hand or the other and you put it on top, and you put the stick in front, in the center of the feet, at arm's length, right? So I have this triangle that goes out from my arm's length to my feet. Grip your feet, and then push your tailbone back and away, and then we're going to allow the head and neck to droop between the arms and let the arms stretch. So reaching forward, let your whole spine relax. Breathe deep. And then when you're ready, grip your feet. Use your abs to unroll. We're going to do it again one more time. This time, change the hand, put the other hand on top, and then bring the other hand underneath, and leaving these in the front. The same thing. So keep your feet activated, your knees are bent, and you can reach your hands forward. Let your spine, your shoulders, and your arms all relax. Same Qigong breathing we started with. And when you're ready, grip your feet, activate the base, and then change. Next, if you take the stick and you turn it over the same arm, we're going to do some massage out behind the back of the arm this way. So for Rad and people watching at home, this is just, if you have the stick this way and you turn it, you turn the arm 90 degrees here, and then you turn the wrist as close to 90 degrees here, and then you see the stick is also 90 degrees here, and then we're going to, whether you move both ends or whether you hold one end in place and you move the other end, or you hold the other end in place and you move the one end, either way, we're massaging the back of the arm, the tricep back here. And then we're going to change. So reaching from underneath this way, turning up and over the same, now on the other side, get it behind the arm, and then and so you'll notice if you practice this one for a little bit, if you keep the arm bent, you get a certain type of massage in a certain place in a certain area. And then if you reach the holding hand up, and then you do the same thing, it's slightly different. By the way, this is a weird aside. Guo, the guy that teaches this one of his only warm-ups. All of these other warm-ups are some combination of something from Yi Shui School, which is Grandmaster Su and Master Yun, something from the wrestling, where they use the sticks to do this kind of stretching, other combinations of things. This one, the one that we had just talked about, is the only quote-unquote stretch that Master Guo does, the guy that teaches the BIAN. All right, let's continue. So next, if you take your hand holding the end of the stick, and then what we had just talked about, like I'm stretching, pushing up to the corner, and then turning the waist as well. So grip the feet, mind your knees so that you don't turn them. Breathing deep, and you can look up to the corner where you're pressing. You can hold this bottom hand anywhere that you like, wherever it's the easiest to generate the most power to push your arm up and out there. Come back to the center, relax on your own, and then changing to the other side, the same, reaching up. So breathing deep, press up to the corner, and then come back to the center. Next, we'll do some hip circles, but I want you to keep the stick in the front so that we have this sort of thing to focus on. So the same thing, keeping the arms at length, and then reaching all the points on the circle. So pressing all the way around. Take your time, breathe deep. And after you've made a couple circles, change directions, going the other direction. Going back to the center. Next, for the legs, the first thing we're going to do is just tapping on the glutes, on the buttocks. So take your stick, and if I use a different one, in a downward motion from top to bottom. Then we're going to do one side at a time. So this is, by the way, you should practice. Your stick has been cut to your proportion, so you can find a couple of different places. If you're near the center, if you're more near one end than the other, you get a different effect. And you can also practice. Here's another concept for hitting, using this kind of turning, right? There's power. But you can also hit this way. So try that on the back side. Did we switch? Did we do the other side? So try turning, and then just try like you're pulling the stick in a single direction, laterally. And then the same thing for the other side. Try both directions. And then try turning. One is easier than the other. Next, come back to the center. We're going to work the upper leg. So take the stick and going down the center, going down the corner, going down the side, going down the inside. Keep your back and neck straight. Go down the center. Go down the corner, go down the outside, go down the inside. We're going to repeat on the other side. By the way, these, what I'm saying, we have center, we have the line that's here on the corner, we have the side. There's an infinite number of lines. So I'm giving you a few places. And then change on the other side. Working from top to bottom. Apply as much pressure as you can reasonably stand, shouldn't be painful. Next, you can, I'm going to use this, use a chair for this next one, just to give it an example, but you can do this one just with balancing. We're going to work this band that goes right above the kneecap, so from here. And so the same thing, remember we said you can just, like you're dropping the stick. This is a good way to make power. Or you can turn the stick this way. I'm exaggerating, but you can, because you can make it smaller, straight vertical dropping, or pushing it towards the target. So for this next exercise, keep working, is around this band here. Don't hit the kneecap, don't hit the bone. You can use a lot of power. And then change on the other side the same. So working from the inside all the way up and across. By the way, I use a chair for that. You don't have to, you can practice this. The same thing, and you can hit, right now I'm using the top hand as pivot and the bottom hand as a driver. You can work this from the inside, from the outside. There's a number of different ways to actually do this. Next, we're going to do, for those of you that have experience, you can work at your own pace. If you gripping one foot and putting the other foot forward, we can use this hand to stabilize the body, and then reaching behind, working from the glutes all the way to the ankle. And remember, you can try a couple of different ways, either pulling or turning the stick like a lever or like a platform, however you like to do it. Working the back of the leg, remember to breathe, keep your back and neck straight, use your abs to support, keep your toes upright, and then breathe and come back to the center. Take a deep breath. Next, grip your standing foot, push the other foot forward. You can use your knee to balance, and then working from the top, from the glutes, all the way down to the Achilles tendon. Remember to breathe, keep your back and neck straight. Come back to the center. We'll do one last one. This is feet, and especially the arch in the center of the foot. You can use this as a balance exercise. Grip your standing foot and then tap. Try to cover the whole bottom surface of the foot. Try to get some of the top of the foot, top of the toes. And then change. We'll do the other side. So activate your standing foot gripping. The feet, especially the arch, use as much power as you can in the center. And then change on the other side. Hit the top, and then come back to the center. Before we continue, continue. We're going to work on the first part of the first section, unless somebody has questions, comments, ideas from second section, first section, anything that you've been working on. We're going to do some, yeah, go ahead. If you have a question, you can ask. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Second section, Brian, second.
You know what? We have new people, so we're just going to go with the basics today. So we're actually going to start just doing the basic exercise, which is this one. If we take the feet, if you have something specific from the second section that you'd like to work on, you have a posture, we can do that. But in the meantime, we're going to go back and review some basics. So taking the stick and turning it just like this. Practicing. The action in Mandarin is called waba. And waba is the sliding hand action that we see here. This one is happening all over the form. So every posture has a hand change. There's a waba in every posture. So if you take your stick, you have yin-yang palm, one hand up, one hand down, and you're throwing the stick up and over, and you change, and the other hand is down, and the other hand is up, and then you switch. You can, in the beginning, it may be awkward to do. Later, you can just slide the hands past each other and have them both connected to the stick, right? So this sliding. And this sort of waba sliding action is one of the bases for the movement for the form. The same thing in the Taiji form. When we learn grasp the sparrow's tail, this turning between the waist and my elbow is the basis for hook, grasp the sparrow's tail. There's movements, a lot of movements that have this coming out. The same thing here. If we're just doing this, you can think of it like a windshield wiper. And once you practice it for a while, you can start to add something else, which is the yang hand gripping at the base can pull. So you can turn it over and pull to the corner. And this is the basis for when we have this kind of hitting power back here. Or you can just see how light you can make the stick and just turn it. But you should get comfortable with the size, the weight, the surface. And then next, make sure that you have space around you. We're going to do the same thing, but going out this way. So let the hands slide past each other. If I go slow, when I'm turning this, I have one hand sliding past the other hand, and this way, and then sliding. So make sure that you have space. And then the same thing, you can, as it returns, you can start to almost hit out with the backside. As it turns here, hit, turn, hit. And then next, we're going to do another exercise, which is, if you have the stick and you hold it in front, my right hand is palm down, my left hand is palm up this way. And we're just going to turn the stick this way. So if we're holding it flat, I'm going to turn my left hand into my right elbow, turning it here. And then we can switch the hand and turn it to the other side. Switch the hand, one side, turn, switch, turn, switch, turn, switch. So by the way, this is, for those of you studying other martial arts, this sort of lotus hands, type action happens. In our Tai Chi form, in the third section, we have the lotus kick. This kind of turning hands. This is the same feeling is here. And you want to find the right change between where your hands are and where your target is. So my target can be far away, it can be very close. If I use this as an example. If I want to strike far away, I can change my waba to here. So this way. Or if I want to strike very close, I can waba and keep less stick at the end of the stick. But for now, let's just practice. If we go into one elbow, and then we change the palms, and into the other. Change the palms, flip. So if I'm holding it flat, this occurs several times in the first and second section from here. So if I'm holding it, even past the fourth grip, and I take my left hand and scooping, like I'm scooping this way. And then there's one more thing, which is letting the tail end of it fly. Remember, we said, just like the first exercise, where we're letting this free-floating here, the same thing. I want to let the end of the stick, you'll feel it, but you want to maintain control of power. This other hand, wrist, should go into the elbow in sort of a relaxed fashion. If you have a place where you can test the power, try some on the other side. So if we flip the palms and we go this way, right? So on the first one, we turn into the elbow here. On the other one, when we change, the right wrist, right hand goes into the elbow. And so, by the way, for this first one, we can think of it, if you watch, like a blade or a propeller that goes in front this way. Or we can think of it as something that's coming up and out. So if I want to use it for a block, you have a question? You know what? I'm sorry. Can you ask that again? I don't know if it's my volume tonight or what's going on, but I'm not hearing what you guys are asking. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. As a general rule, when you're doing a waba, do you want the stick end to come up through the center, like right up your center line, or do you sometimes want it coming up that lifting action coming up to the side?
Okay, that's actually where I was just going. So we're gonna, if we examine that question from like, think of it, what we were just saying is, I can turn this like a propeller, and so if I want to use this to move something to the side, I can just have this turning in front of me like this, and then at some point have it lock into the wrist or into the elbow here, right? And so this can create, if there's something in front of me here this way. But we can also incorporate, remember we said the second basic exercise, the first basic exercise is turning it over this way. The second one is turning it across a flat surface this way. So I can make, instead of having this go horizontal, right? If my camera is parallel this way, I can hit it up here. But I can also, on this one, hit it out forward. Is that your question, Charlotte? Was that what you're asking, if we want it to be?
Yeah, and the reason I was asking is that I'm noticing when I waba on the right, my stick end tends to come up right through the center, but when I waba on the left, it
the first thing is, that's a coordination thing. If we can do it on one side very easily, and it's difficult on the other side or awkward, or we don't have the same kind of control to either hit it vertically or horizontally, then we need to practice more on that side. In this form, I think it only happens on the right side. So we have to practice both sides. I'm doing this as an exercise to sort of warm up to get into the first part of the first section. But yes, exploring this, now you can see, if you're, like I said, if you want to use it defensively in a close quarters, you can just turn to here. Does it have to go through the center line this way? It can. What is the action that's happening? So to make this maybe a little bit more clear to Rad and anybody else that still has a question, this form is based on what Guo refers to as hand tricks. And the hand trick that we're doing is simply taking the arms and folding them over, right, this way. So if I do it without the stick, the empty hand technique is here, like this. We have something like this in the Taiji form at the end of the first section. After we have a Ban Lan Shui, we have this kind of Rufeng Sibi. We can get the hand into the elbow this way, right, for the press. So in this form, right, it's almost like this kind of thing. But I want you to think about this hand floating up and the other one turning. So we had talked about this action, right, twisting here. And then in that twist, we're going to put a stick, right? Here's a shorter one, and then here, if I take my hands and I twist them, putting it into the corner here, right? So this is the thing. So to be very accurate, if we want to talk about what is the correct alignment, in the first section, this is like a gongbu. We have my foot is parallel to this line, my rear foot is also parallel, and my stick is also parallel to the line. So when I set it down, so if Charlotte's thinking about the center line, I'm not necessarily hitting right to the center line. I may be hitting to the edge of my gate, right? So if my gate is here, it just goes to the side, right? So for Rad and anyone else watching, in this form, with my martial arts, I refer to the gate as the form of the body. So where it goes from the feet up to the corner, as if there's a doorway, as if that's my gate. And so I refer to a movement that ends here. This is ending at the edge of my gate. The reason this is important is I don't want to open my gate. There's some techniques that, if you watch my foot, there's some techniques that allow us to open the gate because we're going to close it right when we open it so the opponent steps into close. In this particular case, we're not trying that, right? This is a block or a strike, and so we're just going to the gate. If you're using it as an attack, Charlotte, your question, you may just go to the center, right? You see where the stick ends here. I want to attack my opponent in the center, as opposed to clear their weapon past the edge of my gate, past the edge of my door, right? Because once their weapon is here, I'm free to come back across to do the thing. So we usually don't want to open things too much past. We don't want to go too far beyond the gate because then it's open without a means to close it. More clear? Yes? Okay, so this is a pretty abstract form. It's a little bit jazz-like. We're looking just for the hand trick. What comes out of the hand trick is your imagination, right? Is what you can do with the stick accurately. This is sort of like somebody that learns to play the guitar very well, simply by taking all the chords and messing with them as much as they can. So the same here. If I want to make a long fist, a long attack, I can do my waba in such a way I can reach halfway across the room with the same technique, elbow. I'm using this step to get power, and I'm turning my waist and doing the same flip. It's a much more horizontal. horizontal flip this way to get that kind of distance. But I can also use the same exact technique. Throw the hand into the elbow, right? Elbow, close, very close, right? So, and then you can mess with how vertical is it? Is it like a propeller? Does it turn this way? Or how horizontal? Does it come up the center, right? Are we smacking to the center this way, right? Because we can use the same technique. If you take the stick and you hold it about halfway, and then you hold it somewhere around the top, and you just like you want to sweep something, and so you take this other hand, and you're going to bring it into the elbow, but instead of letting the stick fly up this way, you're going to let it fly across the ground. You can use the same technique, right? And what you find from it is just in the hand trick, is this, like pulling the lever. You have a pivot point, and if there's a wah-bah involved, you have a moving pivot and another pivot that comes off of it, right? So you could find all kinds of things that come out of it. But it takes a little bit of experimentation. So this is one move. This, by the way, the form that we're learning is considered 13 postures. And these, it's because there's about 13 unique postures. It is not related to, in Taiji Chuan, they refer to the 13 postures. This is not the same thing. I'm actually thinking about doing a workshop on the 13 principles of Taiji because they're important. So next, let's do a little bit of the form. And so to review things, when we start the form, we're holding the BIAN. If you have one that's cut, 4 hand grips from the base. Mine actually has some kind of motif that's been carved in there with some markings of that space. That space, by the way, is the same as a standard size Miao. So the weapons form that we're practicing is very versatile. We can use the same form, right, for large weapon. And you'll see the same if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? This is for this weapon, the Miao. And the Miao starts the same way as the BIAN. They're almost, for my scale, it's a little bit larger. They're almost the same size. This is a standard size Miao, this weapon. So we can use this technique. How does the elbow technique work that we just saw, right? We had just talked about being able to put this thing in the elbow. Is if I hold if you have a bladed weapon, even the jian, right, something like this, and I take my other hand and I cross this into my elbow, there's a lot of power. So imagine this is a blade, this is a wooden one, right? But if it's sharp, and I do the fold into the elbow technique, I take one hand is on the blade here, or on the hand, this, right? So this pivot, very effective. And then we can use the smash that comes out of it as well. So this technique, by learning the BIAN, right, by using the walking stick, we can actually be practicing for other heavier weapons. These techniques also work for the long stick, for the long weapon. If you have a 6-foot staff, we can use the same. You can use this same technique that we had just talked about, reviewing it that way. Let's do a little bit of the form. We have about 10 minutes, so let's see if we can start working through the first part of the first section. The salute is at the top of the hilt, where the handle is, right? The fourth grip this way. And so, with the feet together, we have this hand is round and this hand is round here. And the first move is, for those of you that have been practicing, is a flick of the wrist where it's going up, and we want to get it back to this ready pose. So make sure that you have space, because this actually makes a big circle. For those of you that study other martial arts, there's Aikido, and there's other sword forms that using a circle in this way as the perimeter. And we establish that right away with the BIAN by getting to here. And so this first one is again, we want to be as efficient as possible. Let gravity do the work. So from the salute, if you just allow your hand and arm almost as if it's just going to fall right to the ground. So from here, be careful with your carpet, with your belongings. If you just let it fall to hit the ground this way, right? And then right at the last second, before it can hit the ground, we're going to swing it back to get it level and straight on the side. So imagine if I'm facing forward and I have my body geometric, that this is sitting parallel to my gait, right? So if my body is facing this way, this is sitting right along the side gate here. And this is also, just like we had said, you can imagine a sword and its scabbard sitting here on the side that we're going to start moving from. So from here, the power that's coming off of this one is gravity, right? And we want to catch with this other hand here. And so there's enough power coming just from gravity and controlling the gravity to get it to here to create a movement in our opponent. So even from the salute to the ready, there's a strike, right? And it's gravity. We allow it to fall and hit, and then, right, that's the first sort of swinging that we have, but it's control. Everything is always control. So we have, at the very end, we have the ability to move to the next one. So the next one we're calling our ready posture. This form, I never learned the official names for the techniques in Mandarin. If you like to learn at that level, I would recommend studying with my teacher, Master Xiao Yun. He can teach you all the Mandarin. I refer to them in English, and so I call this one salute, and this next one the ready stance. And from there, the first one is a block, is a swinging block. So the first three postures, we go from salute to ready, and then the next one is a block. So this one is and it's a moving block. So if there's power coming directly from the center, and I step to the corner, I want to block this way. And so this one, like we said, is sort of a combination between the windshield wiper, the first most basic exercise, turning this way. By the way, you can practice this quite a bit in his workshops. We spend a lot of time doing this. It seems very rudimentary, maybe useless, but then later you see its value. So then here, going sideways this way. So now imagine a cone, right? And so you can imagine a narrow cone. This is, again, what is the hand trick, and how can we vary it? The hand trick is this sliding of this front hand, right, to make a block. So if that's my opponent there, and I have my lower hand here, this sliding here is going across this way. It's a sweeping block. And you can think of it again as the angle of the cone is being very wide or being very narrow. The hand trick is crossing the hands this way to make this kind of block. And we end with the hands crossed, almost like if you studied the bottle. We have hiding flower under leaf this way. The same concept is here. We have this, and almost like in Taiji we say, when we do cloud hands, right? We go through this kind of movement, right? Or grasp the sparrow's tail to ward off something. So the same, we end almost with this hand reaching across to make a circle across the body, just holding the stick. So to review the first couple from here, when we start, we have ready and then blocking. And so to make things even more confusing for Rad and anyone else tuning in, there's no fixed step, right? The form has not been canonized in a way where there's a fixed step. In fact, for this first one, I can step completely to the left. From the salute and the ready, I can step forward. From the salute, ready, I can step to the right. I can step backwards. There's no fixed step. We're going to use a diamond pattern, right? We're going to use a zigzag pattern to get started for the feeling for it, and then we're going to review some other ideas for movement. Let's continue because I want to get into the elbow. We have a few minutes left. So if we start from the salute, ready, block. The next one is casting. So just like casting a fishing line. So from the salute, ready, block. And then from here, I'm using my whole body and I'm throwing the stick. I'm using mostly my right hand and I'm using my left hand simply to control. And remember, this form, ultimately, we want to turn the stick, the BIAN, into a funmo, the crazy demon staff, right? Where, like when you watch the fantasy sci-fi movie, the wizard can throw the stick and it goes out and it does his work, and then he comes back and he can catch it. So ultimately, we want to be able to throw the stick, right? Here, this isn't bouncy enough, but if you have a tree, you can practice throwing your stick off of the tree and catching it, right? You'll get better at handling the stick. So it's letting the stick really fly, and then just at the last second, controlling it. So the same thing on this, on the casting, is if I'm holding it in my right hand, I'm extending my body. The power goes through my wrist and ends up going out that way. And so that I don't overextend or allow the weapon to fly away, I use this other hand to control it. So this is the casting, right? So instead of imagining the stick as being a separate part, imagine like from your foot all the way through the end of the stick is just one thing, and it's made of a rubber. It's made of this rubber material that springs from the feet to the hand. And we don't want it to fly away, so we control. That's all these techniques the same. This is like you're throwing it. You have an opponent in front of you. If you can hit, if they don't have their guard up, you can throw the stick at them. But we don't want to do this. Oh no, my gate's completely open, right? So we throw it. This is getting more advanced. You throw, but with control. And then the same thing with the next one. You throw it, but you control it. And then here, when we waba, we want to throw it into the elbow, but we control it. Right? Let's continue. Salute. Ready. Block. Cast. Waba, recoil. And then turn it into the elbow. Let's do that again. If I start here. Salute. Ready. Block. Cast. Waba. Elbow. Before we continue, questions, thoughts, comments. This first couple of movements will connect the next one on Wednesday. And for those of you that know the movements, the first one is a block, the next one is a cast. After the waba, fold to the elbow, and the next one is smash. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't hit your shelves. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll go over that one more time. The first couple. Salute. Ready. Block. Cast. Recoil. Flip up. Smash. With that, we're going to close. If you have questions, thoughts, comments, you can ask. For second section stuff, for Tika, the forms are not labeled as far as what the contents are, but if you look on the YouTube site, the ones that are marked in jade are all BIAN classes. Gold ones are Tai Chi classes. So just at a glance, you can identify if you'd like to find the weapons classes and separate them from the Tai Chi classes. Let's actually do something with the stick for some closing, for some Qigong. And so if we take the stick, if you have it 25, 75, and then you remember the exercise we did last week where it's connected to the dantian, to the center here, is this thing. I want you to see about bringing the hand past the hip on each side and turning. So I want you to mind your spine, keep your center line straight. So breathing, grip your feet, relax your tailbone, be sensitive to your knees. Your knees and toes aren't moving. Your hips may shift a little bit. Keep your center line. So holding your shoulder back, pushing your palm down here forward. And then breathing, almost like you're rowing. So push the heel of the palm forward down here on each side, both palms facing down. Breathing. You can also think of pulling this up. What I want you to do is keep your center line straight and move your body like this around your center. So we're using the stick. So relax your shoulders. Right? So my shoulders floating. Relax around the center. So open your shoulders, breathe deep, and then do some changing direction, going the other way. And this one, like you're scooping past the pocket here. And then relax your tailbone. You can go slow or fast. You can use power. But I want you to feel your shoulders rocking around the center line. The center line's turning. Keep your knees, and I want your knees wobbling or shifting. They should remain in line with your feet. And then after a minute, make your feet shoulder width wide. Put your stick in the point of an equilateral triangle here. Put one hand to the other on top of the stick. Doesn't really matter which one. And then let the other hand rest. And then the same thing. Feel as though this whole structure is supported by the stick. So grip your feet and activate the whole shape of your foot, making it a triangular shape inside your shoe. Activate your toes. And when your feet feel super strong, you can let your tailbone relax a little bit like you're about to sit down. Let the legs support themselves. Breathing deep, relax your shoulders, relax your elbows, relax your wrists. Extend the back of your head top and imagine that you can see far away. See through the monitors, see through the wall. See through the buildings, any plants, trees, hillsides. See all the way past the horizon. See past the atmosphere. Let your body line up naturally on its own. You'll feel some micro adjustments. Looking further away, breathing deep. Imagine being at the top of your favorite trailhead and you turn around and you look back down the trail. Make sure the tongue is connected to the upper palate. Breathing deep, bring the feet together. Take a deep breath. Have a great night. If you have questions, call, email, text. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Sure. Have a great night.